When we heard that Andrew was coming, and they gave the warning to evacuate Homestead because they were saying that for sure it was going to hit, we decided to go to a shelter. And the closest one that we thought we could go to was Miami-Dade Community College in Kendall. And we went to the shelter with my mom, my sister-in-law, and her children on the evening of the 23rd. And my dad stayed behind because he was going to take care of the house, but we decided it was safer that we go to the shelter, and we stayed there all night. They told us to go to the gym. That's where that we were going to be spending the night. And we went to the gym, probably around 100 to 150 people were there. And they put us all in the gym. They had cots for us. They had some snacks there. It was a little bit surreal for me. I mean, I was really young, and I really thought, well, you know, we're just going to spend the night here. The storm's going to come like it always comes. A few trees will go down, but that's it. There was a few people there that were a little nervous, but I remember for me it was more like a dream. And I was just going through the motions. I was just waiting to see what would happen next. But when we woke up, it was around 3 in the morning, and we woke up because we heard the roof, little bits of the roof started falling and caving in, just a little. And I looked, and it looked like the roof was like an undulating wave, like it was moving. The walls were moving a little, and we thought we were safe. It was a really strong structure in Miami-Dade, and we thought we were safe, but unfortunately, we had to get out of the shelter in the middle of the storm. And at that time, they started waking everyone up. They tried to figure out where we were going to go next. And some people were panicking. They had to tell us to calm down and not panic, that we had to move and they had to find a place for us to go. I remember I wasn't panicking, I just know we had to get out of there. So we formed a human chain, and they took us to the bathrooms. And as you can see, there's no ventilation, there's no windows. There was, I don't know, 20, maybe 30 people in there. And they had us there for a while. That's where I thought I was gonna pass out or die because there was no air. There was no room to move. And I remember being in one of the stalls where the toilet was right there. And yeah, there were people crying all around. There were people even using the bathroom out of nervousness. There was no lights, it was all dark. I mean, and the noise of the winds. We heard the hurricane, sounded like a whistle. And we were there, I would say maybe an hour. I really lost track of time because at that point, every minute that passed, there was less air in the bathroom because there were so many people. They had closed the doors. And we just had to wait until they moved us again. We had to still hold on. We were going down the stairs in a human chain, in the dark, with the howling winds. And they finally took us to this location down here. And as you can see, this is still open, so that's why we still had to hold on. We had to walk down, and we ended up in the locker rooms. So we were there, sitting in lockers, in hot lockers the rest of the night. Someone had a radio, so I remember listening to the radio the rest of the night of what was happening with Andrew.
Once it started getting rough, we could hear the playset outside of our master bedroom in the backyard started moving. It started hitting the wall of the master bedroom. And we just thought, well, the house is going to fall down. So we moved the children into our master bedroom with us. They finally went to sleep. We didn't sleep at all. The wind was just horrendous. The sounds of that play set banging against the wall of our bedroom was horrible. And then suddenly it'd be quiet. We didn't go out. We were afraid. We were just afraid. Water started seeping in under the wall of the closet. So water was coming into the bedroom apparently, and we were inside the closet, and water started coming underneath the walls. So we were getting wet inside the closet. So we really didn't want to go out and see what was going on. And then Bryan Norcross said, I remember he said, if inside the eye of the hurricane, it's quiet. There's no wind, it just stops. But that doesn't mean it's over. That means the worst is yet to come. That was pretty horrible to hear. It turns out we didn't get that part of it. And then it was dawn, and it was raining, and we walked out and looked at what had been our home, our beautiful country walk, idyllic home, and it was gone. Part of the roof was gone. The upstairs bedrooms, with the kids' bedrooms, were wrecked. That bathroom upstairs had a total skylight. There was no roof on it. And you realize that it's just a house, and at any moment, it can just disappear.
We tried to get everybody here because this was, the family home, larger house. Try to get everybody to come here. So all of the grands, there were like 20 grands, all of the children except my sister, my youngest sister and her husband, they stayed. Nobody believed it was going to be anything. I don't know what time it was. I'm gonna say, I believe it was maybe around 9, 10, but it got dark. And all of a sudden, we were like, is that a train going by? We couldn't believe that sound. And then the wind got ferocious, and just everything started turning. And it just became so incredibly scary. My brother said, look, okay, I think this is serious. Let's everybody get into one room. And my dad was in his room with just sitting there, just because the TV was still on, the power hadn't gone out. And we were just still having a good time. And then when it got so ferocious, my brother said, no, we all better get in one room because this sounds serious. And my dad's like, no, I'm not ready to go yet. I haven't even got my papers together. And so it just so quickly, in a matter of 5 minutes, it seemed to us, got out of hand. And my brother said, no, everybody get in the room. And so we got in the furthest back room. Everybody was in there, my mom, my sister, her kids, everybody. We put all the children in the closet and put them in there and said, y'all just stay here. So we took the bed up and put a mattress to one window and put the box spring to the other. Some of us were holding that. We felt that wind. That's how fierce it was. And some of us were on one window and on the other, and the children were in the closet. And we just heard it going like crazy. That was the worst sound I ever heard in my life. I couldn't understand. We all were praying and crying. My sister was in the closet with the kids, and it was just like nonstop wind, and it sounded like a train outside of our house. So when it finally started to die down, it's like, okay, thank God, we don't hear the wind as bad. When we came out to the front of the house and we looked up, and all of this was off. The roof, all of this front part, and I don't know how they got it back to look normal, but it looks normal again, you can't tell, but it was all off. Like you could just see the sky. I couldn't believe it. And all this happened so quick, within that 30-minute parameter, all of that was off. And then we walked out, and up until we got to the front, like the water was to our knees, like literally right here. We walked out, and then we looked, and everything was like flat. It felt flat. It looked, we couldn't see anything but sky and houses down.
I was 32 years old, and in my third trimester, carrying my third baby. So I was instructed to go to the local hospital during the hurricane, which is James Archer Smith in downtown Homestead. When I went to the hospital, there were 7 women in their third trimester at the hospital, and we were ushered into a room, and I saw the nurses applying this masking tape on the windows, as they were instructed to do. And the doctors and the nurses advised, I said, why did we need to be in the hospital? Are we going to have our babies? He goes, yes, when the pressure drops, that our babies might come out. So I said, okay. But they were, they were giving instructions to huddle together under a bed. But you could see the wind picking up the windows, and all of a sudden, splash, the window broke, and one of the window panes just slashed the nurse's face. And we were told to get out of that room, get out of the room. Then we moved into the staircase. And then the lights went out, but then the lights were just strobing on and off and on and off, on and off. And there was sewage coming up and on the hallways and everything. So they moved us from like room to room. We ended up in a surgical unit under the surgery, the beds in there. And I was angry because the hospital gave preference to the doctors and their families, and they had mattresses on the floor. We had a sheet. We were given a sheet and a pillow. And here, we were like, cows, and we're just being hurtled in from room to room. I was angry about that. And then the generators were humming, but they were going on and off and on and off. And there was like, running water coming in. And anyway, we made it through the night.
Once arriving in the bay to anchor, we proceeded to anchor by the stern as we had planned to, and sort of hunkered in on board to await the arrival of the storm. It didn't take too long before we start seeing gusts of over 100 miles an hour, 110, 115. When the anemometer went to zero, we knew that the sensor out in the wind had blown off. So somewhere around 115 miles an hour, we lost that sensor. And the wind continued to pick up. Waves were building up. And somewhere, I guess when the wind hit about 100, we're having to estimate now, but 140 plus miles an hour, we started to drag anchor. As we monitored our drift to the south, we approached a marker called Black Ledge. Marks a somewhat shallow area, and continued, of course, trying to monitor the heading of the vessel, giving commands for the engines, and realized that the winds were just howling. As we approached Black Ledge, the hawser parted. We realized we were now adrift in the bay. We found ourselves at the mercy of the wind and waves heading toward shore. And really, we couldn't do much. The engines were operational, but we had no steering, we had no anchors, and we found ourselves blown ashore. The family comes out of the house, the wife's hysterical, find this boat parked in her backyard, and wanted to know immediately when we were going to get it out of the backyard. And I just, with a totally straight face, said, not a problem. The next high tide, our plan was to put it in reverse and back it out of there. And then, of course, that didn't happen. She then demanded that we donate, $1 million to the homeless from our liability policy, and we explained that we didn't have that much insurance, and that wasn't going to happen. We did donate all the fuel and food we had on board. We pumped off fuel, gave them all the food. We had a lot of frozen food to a local church there. They brought a big truck and we filled it up. So we gave all that sort of to charity, if you will.
So we were staying in this general area. It was either this room or that room. I can't remember precisely, but I think it was 216, and that's, I'm pretty sure about that. So it was here on the second floor. The parking lot wasn't here, and the pool wasn't here. But we basically stayed in that room up until after the eye of the storm. We'd come out every once in a while and look out to see what we could see, and we'd see nothing because it initially didn't feel like a bad storm at all. Initially, it wasn't even here. And then it intensified a little bit and a little bit more, and we stayed inside our rooms with our candles and, did what we could. And then Frank Wilkins, the manager of the Comfort Inn, during the eye, he knocked on everybody's door and said, we need to move from the southern-facing side of the motel to the northern because the winds are going to shift after the eye. So we came around this way and shifted to the northern side of the motel. We went into one of these rooms and we just hid out for a while, and that's when the storm accelerated and grew incredibly intense. And when we started feeling the motel coming apart, basically, piece by piece, and the groaning and all of that started happening inside of one of these rooms, and the rooms started coming apart itself. And we heard these massive smashes, and when the room started coming apart, we decided it wasn't safe, and so we made our way over to the next room. And we did the same thing. I can't remember precisely which one, but it was one of these facing this way. And that's when everybody really was panicked because we were trapped. And it felt like a seemingly endless amount of time. And so that was one of these rooms. And then when we were finally able to get out, we went to the next room, and that's where we hooked up with the other guests who were also there, and they were there with the motel manager. And that's where basically we ended up staying for the duration of the storm.
Se le voló todo el techo. No tenía techo, nomás donde estaba mi esposa y una hermana mía y mis hijos orando. Fue la única parte que quedó completo el techo arriba. Yo estaba tan asustado que me fijaba cuando se calmó, me fijaba por una ventana y decía, mira, la casa aquella no tiene techo, y me asomaba por otra y decía, mira, aquella tampoco. La casa mía era la primera casa del lado de las trailers. Cuando abrí la puerta así no había ni una trailer. Yo miré perdón. Miré como si fueran bombardeados el campo. Todavía me recuerdo y me da tristeza. Hubo muchos muertos. Los soldados empezaron a llegar al army aquí y empezaron a mover todo y ellos me dijeron a mí que estaban sacando muchas personas muertas. Que si yo tenía familia, que me saliera de aquí porque ya empezó, a los días empezó a hueler a carne podrida. Y tenía una muchacha que tenía asma y me tuve que mover para el pueblo con mi papá, para Homestead, porque huelía muy mal de aquí. Hasta que FEMA me dio una trailer house y fue cuando regresé otra vez para acá, mientras que arreglaran mi casa, porque quedó destruido todo.